Thank you. We appreciate you all joining us today for this wonderful RFP. It's designed to support innovative solutions in education to employment. This RFP is a direct reflection of our priorities at Strada. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to first talk about Strada Education Network and give you some background about who we are. We're going to give you some detailed information regarding our RFP, and then we'll give you some time to ask us specific questions as a part of the RFP process. So let's get started. Strada Education Network is a national nonprofit dedicated to strengthening pathways between education and employment. Some of you may know us as USA Funds, which provided access to higher education for nearly 60 years as one of the leading student loan guarantors in the nation. As USA Funds, we help more than 22 million students and families pursue higher education through financial assistance. However, 5 years ago, our trustees and our leadership team determined that access, including financial access to higher education, is no longer enough. The role of post-secondary education in helping all Americans achieve social and economic mobility must transform to meet the needs of today's students. So we evolved our mission, focus on completion with a purpose, and we transformed our entire organization, including our name, which we introduced just about a year ago. Our brand really tells a story of who we are. Strada means road or pathway in Italian. Education remains our focus as the key to unlock human potential and achieve equity and social mobility for all Americans. And we believe in the power of a network and collaboration to drive impact. As our mission statement says, we engage partners across education, nonprofits, business, and government to focus on student success throughout all phases of their working lives, which is a prominent theme in this RFP. Our theories of change inform everything that we do. We are committed to strengthening education to employment pathways across the key phases of the student life cycle, improving education and career planning, student success and support, improving career and workforce transitions, and lifelong learning. And these theories of change combined with our network approach are key priorities to our RFP. So let's talk a little bit about Strada. As a 501c3 public charity, we advance our mission of completion with a purpose through a social impact operating model that enables us to use multiple tools in our toolbox to drive impact and opportunity. We provide grants to nonprofit organizations through our philanthropic efforts, like this RFP process. We conduct research through our partnership with Gallup, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And our Strada recently launched the Strada Institute for the Future of Work. And we leverage those insights to inform our own priorities and to support the field. And we also own and operate mission-affiliated companies and nonprofits that provide direct services to students, schools, and communities. Together, we are united as a network to help all students complete their post-secondary pathways with purpose so that they can achieve rewarding careers and have fulfilling lives. So, as I mentioned, informed by our research, Strada focuses on these priority populations across all the network programming. Through this RFP, we are specifically prioritizing programs focused on disconnected youth, low income, first generation, and adult learners. At Strada, we believe in giving these priority populations and all education consumers a voice in solutions. Hence, our work with Gallup, the Gallup organization. Together, we are listening to education consumers, and so far, we've heard from more than 250,000 U.S. adults ages 18 through 65 with experience at 3,000 schools and programs across the country. We want to share just a few highlights of this great work and what we're learning, which has also informed this RFP. So let's start with the good news. Almost 100%, so 97% of U.S. adults, it's a lot, believe it is important to have an education beyond high school. And nearly half say they need more education in order to advance in their careers. We also have found out that the number one reason that students enroll in post-secondary programs is to secure a good job. However, the majority of U.S. adults regret at least one of their major education decisions, making us believe that pointing into the direction of the need for better advising. And we've also learned through employers that their involvement in work-related experience is most valued, but least used today. So, how can we bring employers into the conversation to help with career guidance, both for those entering the workforce and those that need to reskill? It's a great question. We believe it is done through collaboration. We know that these challenges cannot be solved on our own. It takes all of us working together to affect change. This is why Strada believes in collaborative, networked approach to connecting individuals to education, and the workforce is more effective. And this is why Strada has committed $5 million to fund multi-year grants, nonprofit organizations incorporating some combination of education providers, employers, community-based organizations, and public sector partners as part of their proposed solutions. So let's talk a little bit about the RFP priorities. This process that we are seeking is really intended to support strategic, innovative, and scalable programs. We want to partner with mission-aligned organizations that believe in powerful collaborations that enhance individual opportunities to better career advising and counseling, improved employment, and smoother workforce transitions. And we want to support solutions that engage employers who are actively participating with the education community, civic leadership, and community-based organizations. So these grants will be 3 years in nature. They will commence in January of 2019, and they will run through December of 2021. Let's talk a little bit about some of the key information and dates that will be important as a part of the RFP process. As mentioned before, the concept paper is accessed through Strada's grants management system. These are due on July the 23rd. Directions and the invitation code are in the FAQs on our website. An internal committee will review all concept papers and full applications. All applicants will be notified of our decision on September the 4th, and those invited to submit a full application will have to do so by October the 2nd. All grant recipients, meaning all those who are awarded grants, will be notified on December the 14th. So you're probably wondering by now, what resources are going to be available to me as a part of this process? We're so glad that you asked that question. To ensure that you all are aware of the resources available to you, complete details regarding the RFP are available on Strada's website. We will update the FAQs on the website after today's webinar and throughout the process, so everyone can benefit from the questions that are being asked. Today's webinar will also be posted onto the website later this week so that you can refer to it as a part of the application process, and others can see it who are not able to attend. Questions regarding the RFP should be directed to Jane Howard, who is managing the RFP process on Strada's behalf. So as you can tell, we are very excited about this opportunity. This is a tremendous day and time for us as an organization, and we are very excited about our new strategic direction across the network. We thank you for your interest in this opportunity to collaborate with Strada Education Network and the others through this RFP. As a reminder, use the Zoom Q&A feature to ask questions. And don't worry if we do not get to your question or you think about a question that you have after this event. Just know that you can send an email to Jane Howard and she will be responding to those questions. And we'll update our FAQs on our website so that everyone can see them. So let's get to the first question.
Our first question is, what's the maximum for the grants? Can you tell me how much we should ask for?
We are looking for strategic, innovative, and scalable projects as a part of this RFP. Tell us what you need to deliver the program. Once concept papers are submitted, we will be able to see the breadth of the ideas, which will help us to bring consideration for all funding opportunities.
Are you looking for place-based programs, or are you open to multi-city programs?
We're open to both. I mean, what we're seeking here is big, bold ideas that help to achieve completion with a purpose.
So how will we hear about our submission, the results?
Notifications will be made via email.
How will you decide who submits a full application and who receives the grants?
As mentioned previously, an internal review committee has been created, and this review committee will review all concept papers, full applications, and will select grant recipients. Each submission will receive equitable treatment.
How many pages long should the concept paper be? Can I provide attachments with more information? And where do I find the invitation code?
Let's take the first question. We'd like for you to stay within the confines of the concept paper. The concept paper has clear directions, specifically what we want to see. We will not accept any items outside of the concept paper or grants management system process. If we need additional information, we will certainly let you know. And I'm sorry, the second question again.
Can I provide attachments with more information, and where do I find the invitation code?
Attachments will not be needed as a part of the concept paper. We have a very good system of record that will ask you all the questions and require all the information that you need in one space. So everyone should be fine. The information regarding the FAQ will be posted in the FAQs. All of the concept paper, all of the codes that are associated with the invitation, and the instructions associated with the RFP are located there.
How many participants or clients should be served each year?
Again, we're looking for the breadth and scale of your program, problem that you're looking to solve, and we'd like to focus on those specific things that are helping students and individuals to complete with a purpose.
Is scale valued over impact? Is it more important to serve lots of participants or have a deep impact on a smaller group?
I would say that it's good to have scale. Scale is great if you're going to help more students and individuals to find their career pathways. We like to have a real good understanding of exactly how you're going to do that. So your theory of action, your theory of change, and your specific activities will help us to understand that. And we're looking for more impact around the transformational issues around the priority populations that we're looking to help.
Could you elaborate on actively participating employers?
Sure. Actively participating employers, we hope, are engaged in the process in some meaningful way. They're informing you when you're placing students into programs around internships, apprenticeships, et cetera, where you are utilizing that feedback and information to adjust programmatic activities so that you can still meet the needs of those organizations. And we want them to be actively engaged from a proactive perspective, not a reactive perspective. So how are they a member of the team, and what role are they specifically going to play?
Would you consider a portion of the grant request to be provided as a stipend to first-generation students enrolled as a student to pursue an internship with community organizations?
I think it depends on the breadth of the program. If that's a part of the program, that certainly will be helpful to understand. But again, we're looking for the pathway that you're providing for those students and individuals through our student life cycle framework. What are you going to do to help them to get to that career pathway of choice through that training program, through that educational program that you're going to provide for them? And what role are the employers going to play in making sure there's a great set of connectivity with those stipends and internships and apprenticeships as a part of the program?
Are you interested in projects that build on projects previously funded by Strada?
We're interested in projects that are going to continue to pursue the mission of completion with a purpose. So if your program is going to do that, we will certainly give it full and equitable merit as part of our review process.
Okay. Could Strada support be a combination of scholarships and capacity building funding?
I think it depends on what type of capacity building we're talking about. Again, our mission is the priority populations, close to 100 million people are out there who could utilize reskilling or upskilling, et cetera. We want to figure out ways in which we can help that population to find a pathway into a career of choice and ultimately have a fulfilling life and a fulfilling pathway into a career.
How do you view investment in technology products and or platforms?
Technology products and platforms are not necessarily a part of the work that we do in philanthropy. We're very interested in figuring out ways in which we can help students. Developing new platforms are certainly important. We would have to certainly take a look at how that platform or how that program or initiative is going to help the students and the individuals that we're working with in the priority populations.
Could you say something more about the age range for participants? Are elementary schools eligible?
This a little further down the pathway for us. Again, we're interested in being able to look at a 3-year grant program with the opportunity that does one of two things. It's going to either help students and individuals to get onto a pathway where they're going to complete with a purpose, where they're actually going to do so. So that early in the process will be very hard to tell in 3 years if you would be able to do that or not.
Are there any certain geographies that Strada is focused on, or do you have a preference in the area of the country where projects might be preferred?
I mean, we're open to what projects you're working on and what areas you're focused on. I think the key that you would need to make is we discussed priority populations as a part of this RFP process. I think the idea is we want you to tell us what the need is specifically, in those locations, so that we can particularly look at them to see who's involved, who's engaged in that process. Is it, the mayor, is the governor? Are there community-based organizations? Are there people rallying around a specific issue to help more students and individuals to find their career pathways? So we would want to understand that as a part of your submission.
In our rural communities, transportation is a major barrier to completion and employment. Would innovative transportation components be considered?
Again, if it's a part of your program and there's a part of the student support, services needed in order for students to be successful and break down barriers, very similar to stipends, we would certainly take a look at that as a part of the review process.
What kind of reporting about the grant will we be expected to do?
We will determine the specific time frame around reporting. Each group that is awarded a grant will have to provide progress reports throughout the 3-year grant period. And so we do expect connections between whoever the lead partner is going to be on a very consistent basis, and we will determine the timing around reporting.
Is Strada comfortable being part of a funder collaborative for a project?
We do that. We do some of that work now with funder collaboratives. In fact, we actually work very closely with funders through what we call the Funders Forum. And so we'd be happy to have discussions about funder collaboratives or opportunities to scale more projects. The RFP process for us is going to be very specific. If there are folks who are interested in that, please let us know, and we'd be happy to have a discussion further about that opportunity.
Does Strada prefer coordinated concepts within states, regions, or localities?
I don't think there's a preference, but I think that there is, again, looking at what the priority populations that we're seeking, we're trying to help, close to 100 million people, have opportunity and have tools and resources where they could access, career pathway opportunities. And we want to be a part of that movement that helps those priority populations, to gain access. So we would like to understand how you're planning to do that, whether it's a state, a region, et cetera.
Are universities eligible to apply? Can companies or for-profits apply? And can government agencies apply?
It's a great question. This particular RFP is focused on 501c3s, 4s, 6s, and 10s. And so if that's the makeup of your organization, or if that's the makeup of your lead partner, that is the ideal situation. If those other organizations are going to play a role as a part of your initiative, then that's absolutely fine.
You said the grant period is January 1, 2019 through December 31, 2021. What if the proposed project doesn't begin until June, for example? Will the grant be extended another 6 months?
I think we would take those on a case-by-case basis. We'd like to understand, why would your project would start in June versus starting in January, or if there was some specific timeline that you were basically focused on to get to that 3 years. I think we'd like to have an understanding of what that is.
Our grant writer will be on vacation the week of July 23rd deadline. Can we get an extension?
Unfortunately, because of the nature of the RFP, we do not anticipate having any extensions or any waivers for the timelines.
Could you talk more about your expectations for collaboration? You listed 4 types of partners in the RFP. Must we include all of them?
No, I think the idea is around collaboration. We talked about this ourselves as a network. We believe that through the partnership and through collaboration, we can solve more of these problems. We can be transformational. We can scale more opportunities. So we'd like to see collaboration as a way in which we could get more people and students and individuals opportunities, for positive career pathways in smoother, educational training processes, which give them access to livable wage opportunities in the places where they want to pursue them. So I think we should think about them a little bit more in detail that way versus I think we should think about them in that way. I think that's how we'll leave it there.
I want to mention that I have 52 questions in the queue. So we won't get to all of them today. We will respond to those on the website, just as an interim notice to everybody.
Yeah.
After the 3-year grant, how important is addressing sustainability of the program in the concept paper?
I think it's very important. I mean, obviously, this is, capital that we're infusing, to address, these key issues around completion with a purpose and being mission aligned. We'd like to see more organizations think about ways in which this is perhaps it's a pilot program where there's opportunity to scale. And if there's opportunity to scale, maybe there are other funders at some point in time who would be interested in being engaged in the initiative or the project to help it become more sustainable.
Could you expand a little bit more on high school, post-secondary? Is there a preference to involving community colleges? How do you see all of that working together?
I don't think there's a preference to working with one group or another. I think it is, we're talking about being innovative and creative. What potential partners do you think could help to provide, positive career pathways, for students and individuals and adult learners? We talked about them earlier as well. How could we help more of those people to do so by engaging more partners, by engaging partners who would be, interested and thoughtful enough to work together and partner to provide a pathway. And if you talk about student life cycle is very important to us. We would like to know where students are graduating from high school. That's a big part of the process and getting into a post-high school situation or post-high school pathway. And so that's a start of the process. And so what does the rest of the process begin to look like to create that pathway for students, individuals, and adults, to get into new career pathway opportunities?
Will another RFP for this project be available next year or even the year following? Or is this our only chance to apply for the 3-year grant?
This year is what we're focused on right now. We will assess, next year at a later time. But right now, I think we want to focus on this particular RFP, and we want to do it, with really strategic partnerships, collaborative efforts that are driving, transformational opportunities, for students and individuals. So let's focus on this year for now, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Do the programs have to directly serve students, or could teacher professional development be part of the program?
We like for the program to directly serve students and individuals and adults, as we spoke to earlier. If there's some component of your initiative that is going to address that issue, you should specifically talk about how that set of activity is going to help more of those students, individuals, and adult learners to get onto that pathway.
Can scholarships be offered as a component of the proposal we submit?
Yes, I mean, if it's a part of a program, yes.
Could you give us a sense if the preference is to award the $5 million to many organizations, or to award larger grants to a smaller group of organizations based on their potential impact?
That's a great question. I thought that question would come sooner. I would say this, we've committed to, supporting this effort with a $5 million set of resources. And so with the commitment of our trustees and our executive team, we'd like to have the earnest opportunity to review all applications and all concept papers that come to us and explore, what the creative and innovative opportunities begin to look like. So we haven't really set a number on what that is. We really want more creativity and innovation and the opportunity to see, how collaborative, your work can be to help more students, individuals, and adult learners.
Where can we find information on what should go into the concept paper?
Please go to Strada Education's website. What you'll find is in the FAQs, we have a great deal of information that is located there. We will update that information on a consistent basis so that everyone has a fair opportunity to see what people are asking and how we're answering those questions, or to better understand a part of the process. If there's some clarity that's needed, we want to make sure everyone has that opportunity to see all that information. So you can go to the website, and the FAQs will be your source and guide. And if you have additional questions, please reach out to Jane Howard.
Who will be part of the application review committee to make decisions?
We have an internal review team, and that internal review team consists of many of our colleagues in very different parts or disciplines, if you will, of our organization. Again, we will give them all the information that you provide as it relates to your grant application or concept paper, and we will give it the best and fairest equitable chance it has to move forward.
Are letters of support required for the concept paper phase?
No, they are not.
Can you define adult learners a bit more specifically? Would this include adults without high school diplomas who are not youth?
There are a lot of different definitions for adult learners that are out there. We talk about, if you think about automation, right? Automation is happening all around us. The reskilling of adults, young adults, senior adults, whatever category they're in, is a big part of what's happening across the country. So we'd like for you to tell us specifically, what adult learner population are you interested in supporting, and what basis or what need, can you help us to better understand, why this is important for us to do.
We are considering a partnership application, but have not yet confirmed. Can we submit a concept paper from a single organization and then apply as a partnership?
You can certainly submit your concept paper as a single organization. It's going to get the review, as we talked about, as all the other concept papers will get reviewed. We're strongly encouraging collaboration and partnership, mainly because that's exactly what we believe will help get more scale, more innovation, and more opportunity to transform some of these issues. So hopefully that's helpful.
What is the expected average size of each grant?
There is no expected average size of each grant. Again, we have committed $5 million to this process, and we are going to look at every concept paper to look for those innovative, creative solutions that we talked about earlier.
How would you like for us to define eligibility for scholarship awards?
I think that's something that, you should think about, we're talking about various populations. Obviously, we're talking about low income, first generation. Many of those students have significant barriers, other than just the financial, in order to go to college or to go into a training program and to try to advance, into a career pathway of choice. So again, we want you to tell us, if there's some specific issue or some specific matter that is important to your work, that's important to your city, your state, your region, we'd like to have a better understanding of that and understand why you're looking, for resources, from this particular RFP to support that effort.
Do we need to provide a budget as part of the concept paper?
Yes, we would certainly welcome you to provide a budget. It's certainly part of the review process for both the concept paper and the full application.
Is an organization with a 501c3 status pending from the IRS eligible to apply? If not, can we apply with a collaborative partner as the lead organization or fiscal agent?
We would prefer that you actually have your 501c3. And if you don't, it's great if you partner with an organization that does.
Is Strada funding statewide initiatives?
Yes, we are. We've done that in the past, and that certainly could be a part of this particular RFP.
I would like clarification on scalability. Can you talk about what you have in mind regarding scalability?
Well, it's a pretty long-winded answer. I think if you start to think about, ways in which you've seen success in your particular, city, state, or region, if you have some ingredients of what success looks like, and you have created some innovative partnership in order to help more students and individuals, adult learners, first generation, low income students, et cetera, to have career pathway opportunities, we'd like to hear about what those opportunities are. And we'd like to better understand, if there were more resources available to you, would you be able to serve more students or individuals or adult learners? And so when we say scalability, we mean the ability to address more people, but having, all of the resources and tools that you need in order to do it successfully, just as successfully as you've done it with a pilot program or initiative that started off in a pilot phase, and now we're going to move to a different phase because it worked. That's a great story to tell.
I understand that the RFP is focused on work. Will you review RFPs focused on entrepreneurship?
We certainly will review all concept papers that come in. Again, our approach is around the student life cycle framework. We're interested in helping individuals and students and adult learners to gain access to career pathway opportunities through our mission, what we call completion with a purpose. So we're going to stay mission aligned, as we talked about earlier, as it relates to the work that we want to see.
Is Strada open to pre-submission calls to talk with someone about our idea to determine if Strada is interested?
No, that's a reason why we're having this webinar. This webinar is intended to share information widely or broadly about what it is specifically that we want to do. We encourage you all to, if you have questions specifically for your specific request or your specific concept paper, we would rather you reach out to Jane Howard so that we can understand all the questions that you have and all the information that you need so we can respond to you appropriately.
Is there a focus on particular grades that you want? Is there a focus on particular grades in high school or college or post-secondary? How far through the pipeline are you focused?
I wouldn't say there's a specific focus on grades. It is, we're looking at a pilot program, if you will, for 3 years. The idea is we want to help students, to get onto a career pathway to complete with a purpose or to actually do so. So I would strongly encourage, folks who are considering to apply to think about ways in which their programs could target those students and those populations, which we could see some activity or some progression over that 3-year period from an evaluation perspective.
We have several questions about the review process. Can you tell us more about what will be considered in the review process, and can you discuss the rubric used to evaluate each RFP?
I can say this. we utilize a rubric as a part of our new strategic direction now, and that rubric is focused on the ability to sustain the program, the ability of an organization to actually produce the results and outcomes that we're interested in seeing. There's a lot of different components around the organization. There's a lot of different components around the activities, and there's a lot of different thoughts around the outcomes that you're looking to drive. So we're going to review all of that as a part of the process. Again, the review committee has been assembled, and the review committee will consist of an internal team within Strada. We have an internal team now that does that, and we will implore that team to help us to review these concepts based on scalable, innovative, collaborative, and outcome driven. And the idea is we want to connect students, individuals, adult learners, and create better pathways from education to employment. And so that's really what we want to stay focused on. That's how we're going to review the applicants and the concept papers.
We have several questions about the way that funds are being used. Are you interested in programmatic proposals, or is this glue funding to support thought leadership or systems work?
This is programmatic funding. This is specifically around direct services, et cetera, to, again, that priority populations that we talked about. We want, to see more of these transformational issues that we've talked about, to be resolved. We have 95 million people out there with some college, no degree, or have just a high school diploma. We want more of those people to have opportunities in this 21st century, workforce that we're seeing take shape now. And so we want to focus more on those opportunities with our work.
I'm curious about the types of certificates and degrees that satisfy RFP requirements. Could you talk a little bit more about post-high school, post-secondary training?
Sure. We look at programs now, and we will look at programs that relates to the RFP that are focused on certifications, credentialing, 2-year, 4-year institutions as a part of that pathway. So again, there's some programs that we support now that are very creative that focus on a few of those opportunities or a few of those pathways as it relates to their work. And so we're interested in seeing, which opportunities do exist where employers are going to be interested in hiring people, through training programs as such. I would say, even add that we want employers to be engaged in this for that reason as well. It isn't that we want to decide for them what they want. They know what they want. Let's engage them. Let's bring them to the table. Let's hear their voice. And let's make sure that we're putting people into positions and into pathways where there is employment opportunities on the other side. Again, the old train and pray model, we're talking about more the employer-led, the employer-driven, the employer-engaged model, where we're pulling people through, not pushing them out.
Would completion of internships or co-ops be considered employment outcomes?
I think it's a part of a program, but ultimately we want students, individuals, adult learners, to get into career pathway opportunities. If those are going to help them to do that, then certainly include them into your submission.
Are you looking for partnerships with certain industries?
No, not necessarily. But we know what industries. Again, we know what's happening out there in the world. Automation's a big part of our lives. Probably everybody who's on this call has a smartphone, right? So the technology is a big part of it. Automation's a big part of it, and we're beginning to see that even with our own research institute for the future of work, where we're looking at ways in which what does the future of work begin to look like. So let's be creative and innovative about where those pathways could lead people. If it leads them into those opportunities, we certainly want to hear about them.
Are nursing and healthcare related degree programs allowable?
Yes, they are.
Can a state university be the lead applicant, or shall we have our nonprofit foundation apply?
Yeah, we would want the 501c3 to apply for it.
You mentioned that a key component to a strong strategic partnership is engagement with the workforce community. Can you provide an example of a successful workforce education model? What does success look like for Strada?
Well, I hate to go into details and talk about a specific organization. We can certainly, if you want to, Jane, maybe we'll have Jane take that offline and you can answer that one in detail. But I'll say at the highest level, obviously, when organizations are partnering and working together and they're creating the pathways where students, individuals, and adult learners are able to get into new career opportunities that pay a livable wage or pay a middle skill wage, that should be success. It should be success when someone's happy and fulfilled, with that career pathway that they've been training for, they've been educated for, and they've been developed, to take on, and that they're in it and they're excited about it. So we want to see, those opportunities where we're allowing people, to have tools and resources that are going to help them, to figure that out, not on their own, but with some guidance, with some coaching, with some advising, with the building of a network. Those are all components of what we believe is success.
Are you open to a focus on serving adult students through online learning experiences?
Yeah, we were open to it. It's a big part of, the pathway forward. We all ultimately know that, we want people to be trained, in a way in which they're going to have opportunity. And so this is a part of the method in which they do that. We certainly would like to see, what that particular initiative or program is doing and what outcomes has it seen thus far, which could lead to more success.
Are you open to multi-institution programs?
Again, this is a collaborative opportunity. So yes, we do that now. We support organizations that are multi-institutional in nature or multi-partner specific or centric, or multi-employer centric. So tell us, what role everyone's going to play. Help us to understand that. And we can certainly utilize that information to help us make a well-informed decision about your concept paper.
Are partner MOUs required to be finalized prior to the concept paper deadline, July 23rd?
Well, I would hope that as you are building partnerships that you figure out some mechanism that will work for you. We would certainly want to understand how these partnerships have been solidified. So if you do have, that type of information, which is, not secured in concrete, but if you have some partnership engagement tool that you're using, we certainly would like to understand that.
If invited to apply, will there be feedback on scaling back and on proposed budgets, etc.? What kind of feedback will be available?
I guess that will depend. If we're interested in the project or the initiative, we will certainly keep that into consideration. And if we need additional information, we will certainly let you know.
Again, what are the criteria for assessing what are innovative and scalable? For example, what components will Strada look for in an application to indicate that the project is scalable?
Well, obviously, we're going to look at your previous success, right? We're going to look at you as an organization or you as a collective and try to determine, have you been successful in your previous, bodies of work? Has a collaborative that you're working in, performed any pilot initiatives that have shown success? We will want to understand, from an evaluation, from a performance perspective, how will you determine what success will look like? And will that match with what we're aligned with? Again, our ultimate goal is for students, individuals, and adult learners to complete with a purpose. And we want to see people get into career opportunities, where there's engagement with employers, there's good career advising and coaching, and strong student success and support measures in place and activities.
What are your expectations for evaluation and impact measurement?
Obviously, we want to be formative and summative. We want to, and since this is a 3-year, initiative, we want to have a real good understanding of how you're going to evaluate progress over the course of the 3 years. Who's going to look at, the activities and tie these activities to the specific outcomes that we're expecting to see take place. We're obviously going to evaluate ourselves, but we want you to also look at the longitudinal opportunities that exist, as you start a program. Obviously, it takes sometimes 6 years, for our students to go through a complete process, particularly if you're starting with high school. We would want to understand, two things, right? Are you helping those students, adult learners, individuals get onto the pathway of complete with a purpose, or are they actually going to do that? So that's going to be our sort of rule of measure, from what you submit to us.
What is the geographic scope of this RFP?
So we're basically a U.S. organization, so we're going to focus our efforts in the U.S. But any, state, region, city is open, for us to consider.
How many people does Strada want a funded organization to serve over the course of the grant? Is there a minimum number?
There is not a minimum number. Again, it's really about, you letting us know what the need is and the region that you're focused on or targeted on, and how this collaborative is going to help more, students, individuals, have opportunities to career pathways. So no minimum at all.
Are certain award amounts too small or too large for consideration? We are from a smaller area in size.
No, they're not. Again, we're going to evaluate, the concept papers and the applications on the merit of what you're seeking to do, and being mission aligned with what we're seeking to do. If we do see that, and we see that there's some innovative, creative, scalable opportunity there, we will certainly take that into consideration.
Assuming the pathway ends up in career or work, are post-secondary and or credentials required in this RFP?
No, I mean, they're not required. Again, there's many different pathways that people, students, individuals, and even adult learners are taking, to get into new career pathways or get into a career pathway. We'd like to have a good understanding of specifically what you're focused in doing. What specific theory of change do you have, and what set of activities are you going to employ in order for people to have opportunity?
What level of commitment or partnership is needed from institutional partners?
I mean, I don't necessarily know if we can measure the level there. It is, what role? We'd like to have a better understanding of what role each partner is going to play in this collaborative effort. What role is the institution going to play? Like, what specific activities is the institution going to participate in or lead, if you will, to help make the project successful?
Are you looking to fund existing projects or new collaborations?
We're really more focused on new collaborative efforts. There are existing projects that are out there that we talked about earlier from a pilot perspective, and you've seen great success, and you'd like to scale that initiative. We'd love to hear about it to see if it is a fit with us from a mission alignment perspective.
What kind of partnerships are most sought for this grant? Does Strada have a strategic theme guiding the types of partnerships or collaborations funded?
No, the theme for us is completion with a purpose. So if your initiative is driving more of that to take place, and we're focused on, our student life cycle, scalable, innovative partnerships that help more students, individuals, adult learners. That's really what we're looking for.
May the grants be used for research and strategy, or must they be oriented toward implementation?
We're focused more on implementation with this particular RFP. We would like to see, again, more of that priority population be addressed as a part of your submission.
Will organizations that have an already existing long-standing program be viewed as a more favorable investment from Strada?
Each submission will be reviewed and given equitable treatment.
It seems like the focus is on education as a means to employment. Do you see workforce organizations being competitive applicants?
Yeah, we partner with workforce organizations now as a part of our strategy, and we've seen great success, with the majority of those partners. So yes, what we'd like to see more of is the collaborative effort that could exist to do more, in this space. We've seen some great success where there's employer-led, employer-driven opportunities, and we'd like to see more of that take place where there's a great need. Employers are really good about telling us, what they need, and there are jobs out there that exist and specific skills that are needed for those jobs and for those opportunities. So we'd like to see more of that activity occur so that more people, have access to training and reskilling, which will help them to seek those opportunities.
Would you like to see other funders for the same project, or is Strada comfortable being the only funder for the project?
No, we'd love to see other funders for the project. Again, that's what we've been focused on as it relates to getting to know more funders in the funding community and talking more and sharing information and being more collaborative ourselves. So yes, we'd like to see those collaborative opportunities, include other funders as well.
Please define public sector partners and how extensive of a partnership are you looking for from various partner types? Can you give some examples?
So, public sector partners, again, you have, workforce investment boards, you've got municipalities who have education offices, many different ways in which public sector, Department of Labor, those types of organizations. The idea is, are they a big part of, the issue that you're trying to address? And could they be a part of the problem solving, so be a part of the solution, if you will, to driving that problem home? So it isn't about, their level of engagement. Again, it's about what role do they need to play in order for you to gain success in what you're trying to accomplish.
Does post-secondary exclusively refer to college or university education? What about supporting graduates of vocational programs?
No, it does not. We do that now. It's included, credentials and certifications, 2-year, 4-year institutions are a part of the current strategy now. And we'd like for folks to think about, those potential partnerships that exist with those organizations that serve in that capacity to be a part of their submission.
Are certificates that can be completed in 30 or 40 hours eligible? For example, they take less time than an associate's degree. We want to make sure all training and education completed qualifies for this RFP.
Again, if you're being able to display success, with that particular pathway, we'd love to hear more about how that's working now and how you expect that to work going forward. But more importantly, if you're working with employer partners, more importantly, what do they think? If they believe that that works well for them and they're going to hire people and give people opportunity, that sounds great.
Do you have to be specifically invited to apply to submit a concept paper?
No, you don't. If you go to the FAQs, you'll find the specific instructions and the invitation code, and you'll find Jane Howard's email there as well, who is willing to help you with any questions that you may have after this webinar.
Will we be expected to propose a project under one of the three key phases of the student life cycle? The RFP at the top of page 2, career and workforce transitions, education and career planning, student success and support.
We'd like to have a better understanding of how you're going to help students, individuals to actually move through the student life cycle to ultimately complete with a purpose. So one of the phases of the student life cycle is great. We'd like for you to touch more than one so that we can do one of two things. One, we have students and individuals who will get on the pathway to complete with a purpose, or they will actually do so.
Is third-party evaluation required?
Third-party evaluation isn't required. We'd like to have a better understanding of how you do plan to evaluate the program. It will be given merit based on what your plan is, to evaluate the program. Again, the idea here is it sometimes takes, more than a 3-year grant period in order for you to see movement take place. We'd like to have a good understanding as to longitudinally what happens also, down the road with this population. Is this actually working? And we like to know that. If it is, we'd like to have a better understanding as to what is making it work, and shouldn't we be doing more if we know that it's working. So we'd like to have a strategy, or like to read about your strategy on how you're going to evaluate the program so that we can better understand the outcomes of success.
How much of a commitment is required from partners during the concept paper stage?
I'm not sure I understand the question, but I'll try and answer it. Again, it's It's about your involvement or engagement in the project. What role is each partner going to play as a part of making this project a success? We'd like to have a good understanding of what that is.
Is providing sub-grants an allowable use of funds? If so, would there be a sub-grant cap?
Again, we're not necessarily interested in sub-granting. We're more interested in direct services and program delivery. If that's your methodology of choice, we'd certainly, review that as a part of, the concept paper phase to see if it's something that we believe is mission aligned.
Is there a requirement for matching funds or contributions?
No, there's no requirement for matching funds. We encourage you to have other funders who are part of helping to make the program scalable and more impactful as a part of this RFP process.
Are you prioritizing any particular student groups?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, we've talked about some specific populations, low income, first generation, adult learners, et cetera. We want to try to get more of that population, opportunity. As we talked about earlier, the stats, speak for themselves about the many people in America that do not have a college degree, have some college or no degree, or have just a high school diploma. It's very difficult, to get employment, and particularly with the new 21st century workforce that we're looking forward to going forward. So we'd like to see more of those populations addressed. But tell us what the need is in your specific region, as we talked about earlier, city or state, and we will certainly review that as a part of the review process.
Would you support a project that is getting ready to launch in its first year?
I think it would depend on, what it is that you're, seeking to accomplish. Obviously, we have a pretty extensive timeline that runs from today into December of 2018. And so if that timeline is tough for, please send a specific set of questions or detailed information to Jane Howard, and she can certainly take that offline.
Will you elaborate on community-based organizations? What if it is a multi-city proposal?
Yeah, we're open to those multi-city proposals. Again, we want you to be able to tell us, what the need is, what employers are involved, what institutions are involved, if there are any, and again, what role are they going to play to help you find success with your initiative.
Do you have a preference towards something that is integrated within a traditional school design or as a supplement to school?
We're open to both. We know that there's partnerships that exist that address both of those, and the hope is that if you have a great collaborative which includes them all, we certainly would love to see it and have some opportunity to discuss with our review team.
Should the program be workforce heavy or education heavy? What is the focus? Is the focus more workforce centric? Will it meet the guidelines of this new strategy focused by Strada?
I think it's totally up to you as an organization, depending on what the need is in your respective region or respective areas that you're seeking to address the issue. I think it's more of a place-based approach, if you will. Not that we're not open to it, but I think the idea is you need to tell us what the need is and then why you're looking to attack the issue in that manner so we can make a well-informed decision. So again, we're going to wrap. It's been a wonderful time with you all today. I thank you all for taking the time to be a part of this RFP. We certainly look forward to hearing from you. Again, our website will be updated with FAQs. Jane Howard is our contact, and we look forward to hearing from you as a part of this RFP process. So thank you all. Have a great day, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues.
And that concludes today's webinar from Strada Education Network. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember to check the website for updates and additional information. That address again is stradaeducation.org/philanthropy. Please direct any follow-up questions to Jane Howard, Jane, Jane.Howard HOWARD, at stradaeducation.org. Thank you.